Soils. Well, they are one of our greatest assets. And at Harvest Moon, it's all about the soil. For many, many years, we've been concerned about the amount of power, implements and tillage and the impact on our ground over the last 30 odd years. And I suppose it hit home in the last, 15, 20 years when there's been a big cost and pressure on profitability in our industry. So for us, the soil, I mean, there's two critical issues. One is the sheer cost of working the ground, overworking the ground. Nowadays, labour, diesel, wear and tear on machinery. But secondly, it's also about preserving our soil and improving our soil and the damage that tillage can do to our soil. So really it's that second component, soil structure, building up organic carbon. And really that's come from the last 20 or 30 years. As I said, you know, machinery's got bigger and bigger. We're all guilty of it. We all like, you know, bright, shiny new machinery. And it's got heavier and heavier and heavier. And obviously with that comes a lot of impact on compaction and structure. It really hit home to Harvest Moon probably 20 odd years ago. We bought a farm in the Northern Midlands at Kinburn, Cressy. And we were pretty excited about going down there, obviously with the development of irrigation and pivots and linears. But we soon realised what we faced. We just purchased the farm, all the soil tests came back and we were pretty horrified. Organic carbons of 0.7, pH of 5.2 to 5.3, and here we were embarking on an intensive vegetable production centre. So we set about pretty quickly on how we're going to turn this farm around and improve it. And one of the first things we looked at was obviously soil amendments in our local region. We went down the road to Parana and we started using all the stuff out of the byproducts out of the feedlot there, which worked well, but we were worried about the whole process of the composting procedure. We were worried about weed seeds viable. And then we got on the bandwagon of the spent poppy mark down the road at TA. And really that was the turning point in our production centre at Cressy. Basically, it's a byproduct at TA, so we had any amount of the poppy mark. So basically then, from day dot, we just were blanketing the farm until we started seeing response, until we started seeing organic carbons lift, until we started seeing pH lift. At the same time, we also started incorporating green manure crops every year. A lot of the time where we're basically custodians of this land. We've just sold this farm and I'm proud to say that we left it a lot better place than when we first bought it. Roll on the clock, 18 years. We sold the farm back in June this year, organic carbon 3.7 and pH of 7. And it just goes to show that you can intensively farm fragile soils, but it does cost you a lot of money to feed it and maintain it and look after it. Up on the northwest coast, we've got a pretty simple strategy at Harvest Moon as far as our cropping programs go. Basically, we have a cover crop in every paddock, barring our onion program. And when I say a cover crop, it could be a ryegrass, it could be a biofumigant, it could be a tillage radish, but the bulk of what we use is basically ryegrass. It's cheap. It's easy to work in. It doesn't require a lot of energy to work it back in the ground. It grows easily and it's easy to kill using Roundup, which everyone has heard about the attention of Roundup of lately. But it's a great tool and we'd be lost without it. One of the, I suppose, the important parts of soil health is about timing it, and we put a lot of emphasis on that at Harvest Moon. So we do a lot of forward planning and preparation in everything we do. And farming is all about timing, and green manure crops is all about timing. So one of the things we really work on at Harvest Moon is getting our program, in place at an early stage. So in February, March, when crops are coming out, we know exactly what's going to happen in that paddock in the next 12 months. As those crops are coming out, we are working that ground specifically for what crop's going to go in there in the following spring. Again, we're very, very mindful of tillage and over-tillage on all our grounds, and we've been trying to work to a strategy where we have one power pass per season on any one paddock. One of the things obviously about power implements, as I said earlier, it's not just about the cost, but it's also about pounding the soil structure and just burning up all that good carbon. So at Harvest Moon, we've got two basic production systems. Obviously we've got the flats down there, and they're all on raised beds, and then we've got the red soil farms around on the northwest coast. With the advent of GPS back in the mid-2000s, we started off doing seasonal controlled traffic farming, which was working well. Then in 2009 we had a pretty major change at Harvest Moon. We changed our whole production system from the wheel widths on our tractors from 1.6 out to 2 metres. And that was great. We had some immediate gains on productivity gains with crops, but it also set the scene for us to start developing farms with permanent sprinklers and irrigation schemes. And if you drive down the road down there towards Turner's Beach now, you'll see all the permanent sprinklers we're putting in. Again, that's been a major change in the operation, and it's been a major boost as far as productivity goes. One, it's major savings in labour, but two, just the effectiveness of irrigation goes. But what that meant was once we put those sprinklers in, we were locked into that bed system. Since then, we've been able to adopt true controlled traffic farming. With that, we've been able to keep the big tractors off the farms. We've gone back to specialised equipment. We've built some gear of our own. We've built a purpose-built bed, a ripper that doesn't touch the wheel tracks, just ripping the ground that you're actually farming. And along the way, we've also found and implemented other machinery. So when in a nutshell, basically when you're just working that bed that you're taking crop off, the power requirements of tractors for working that ground is way less. So in the past, we'd have a 300 horsepower tractor, all bells and whistles blazing and diesel burning everywhere and cross ripping and double ripping and disking, and we've basically halved our costs and halved the amount of time we're actually farming this ground. Sure, we've had to find some specialised bed equipment, which we've found in the UK and US, but it's been quite dramatic as far as the amount of, as I said, the amount of passes and the costs on the system. And of course, the most pleasing thing is, we're not, as I said, we're not burning up all that carbon. Our organic matters are going through the roof, and we're maintaining and not impacting on compaction. The red soil's a little bit harder as far as controlled traffic farming goes, especially with topography around the northwest coast. There's not many true dead flat paddocks, so that's a challenge. We're still working on it, but it's bloody hard, especially with certain harvesting equipment. One of the benefits of having all our own ground and having all our own harvesting equipment, we've set up a lot of harvesting equipment around that controlled traffic farming. Broccoli, cauliflowers, cabbage, baby leaf, beetroot, all those crops, onions, we can stick to those wheeled tram lines. Other crops such as potatoes and carrots, throw a few more challenges at us. Again though, the key is the timing. As I said, we're very strict on getting our ground prep done in the autumn when it's dry. We know what our crop is, we get a cover crop in, we get it away early, and many times it means watering it up in the autumn to get it away on time. Again, we've copied and implemented from what we learned from the Northern Midlands. We bring a lot of poppy mark up the northwest coast, incorporate that with our cover crops. When you drive around Forth, you'll notice that we don't have any fences on our farms, and that's for a reason. That's for a reason so we don't have the temptation to run livestock. As I said, we value our soils, it's our biggest asset. The last thing we want to do is have the temptation to run a 400 or 500 or 600 kilo beast in the spring to chew some grass down for a short-term gain. We just view that as just the biggest no-no. So you'll notice no fences. In the last couple of seasons, one of the new things that we've been playing with, and I see on the program that there's going to be a talk about later, is strip tillage. That's really exciting. This last 12 months we've done 500-600 hectares of strip tillage. The bulk of our broccoli program, beans, pumpkin, collies, cabbages have all been used, grown under the production system strip tillage. Again, a fair bit of planning and preparation goes involved, but we're just saving big licks as far as costs go, and we're saving big licks in pounding our ground, pounding that soil structure. So that's pretty exciting on where we're going with the strip tillage. Kev Temple's been leading that charge at Harvest Moon, and it's really exciting. In just finishing up, look, as I said, my take-home message that I'd like to send out to growers and field staff is we've got to have very good forward planning and preparation for our soils. We've got to use Mother Nature. As I said, Roundup's a great tool, and it's a great tool in conjunction with Mother Nature, especially in cover crops like ryegrass, giving yourself plenty of time for Mother Nature to just decompose that grass down to nothing, so you're not having to come in at the 11th hour, pound that ground and get it into a seed bed ready for a poppy or an onion or whatever it is. So field officers that are here, growers that are here, talk to your field officers, make sure in the autumn when you're working your ground, have that plan in the back of your mind exactly how that company wants that ground ready to go in the following spring. And if you do that, these red soils will look after you and they'll grow good crops.